Now let's talk a little bit about this epic matchup this weekend between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Dallas Cowboys. It is finally here. I've talked about it for literal weeks now. I've told people, listen, the Dallas Cowboys' first real test, of course, that wasn't exactly true because then they lost to the Arizona Cardinals. My team, Dak Prescott, didn't show up. But first, before we talk Eagles, Cowboys, I want to talk about this. Dak Prescott was awesome this weekend. I'm willing to give credit where it's due, but I'm also going to absolutely take a victory lap here because I was 100% correct on Dak Prescott. The way you win with Dak Prescott is if everything is going Dak Prescott's way. He's the best front-runner quarterback in sports, aside from Aaron Rodgers. When things are going great with Aaron Rodgers is at the front of it, and when it's going bad, it's going awful, and Aaron Rodgers is nowhere to be found. Does anyone see a real pattern here with Dak Prescott like I consistently do? For some reason, Dallas Cowboys fans will come and mentions every week when Dak Prescott plays good and say, oh, did you see Dak? He was awesome this week. See what he did against the Jets? Look at what he did against the Patriots. He was so good. Look what he did against that Chargers defense. That is statistically the worst defense in the NFL at the time. It's a horrific defense. It's one of the most expensive defenses that Brandon Staley cannot seem to get right. Although he's a defensive coach, it just consistently is awful. And Dak Prescott played well against it. And again, I give him his due. Anyone who thinks Dak Prescott sucks doesn't know football. But what I will say is, Dak Prescott's not a top 10 quarterback. There are absolutely 10 quarterbacks I would take over Dak Prescott. And that leads me to my next point. One of the quarterbacks I would take over Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts. And there's a reason why the Philadelphia Eagles are going to win this division. There's a reason why the Philadelphia Eagles are going to end up with home field advantage the entire time throughout the playoffs. Because I get texts from Dallas Cowboy fans all the time. You see the Philadelphia Eagles? Didn't look good. And I'm like, yeah, they didn't look good. And they still won. Imagine what's going to happen when this winter sport turns their way in Philly. And it's cold. And you have to go to the Link to play them, in which they are the best smash-mouth, win-ugly football team. The Eagles play up to their opponent. The Dallas Cowboys always consistently disappoint in big games. This is what happens. We saw it with the 49ers, and I called it. I said, listen, they're going to play great against the mediocre teams. They're going to beat them down hard, and they're going to beat them down good, and they're going to win. Because the Dallas Cowboys do not suck. They're just not Super Bowl contenders. There's teams every year that do not suck, that are good football teams, that are not Super Bowl contenders. I'm just the only one man enough to say it. I don't care about the backlash. I don't care if Dallas Cowboy fans are going to come to my mentions every year and go, this is our year. We them boys. It's not. Sit down. Put the pom-poms down. The Dallas Cowboys are going to go into the Link this week, and they're going to lose. And they're going to get another reality check. Because they're not playing at home, because they're not playing Mac Jones, because they're not playing Zach Wilson, because they're not playing insert bad quarterback here like we saw this week. An injured Matthew Stafford, he gets knocked out of the game. They rough him up. And does anyone see a consistency between Dak Prescott's good games? It's at home normally. They get a defensive score, sometimes two of them. We saw it in the Jets game, we saw it in the Patriots game, and we saw it in the game against the Rams. All that pressure is off of Dak Prescott. He's able to come into his own. He's not playing from behind. And then he's able to deal. Exactly what Dak Prescott is supposed to be. The best front-runner quarterback in sports. When things are going well, things are going awesome. But guess what? When you play good teams, and when you play good teams in the playoffs, you don't tend to show up. 2 postseason wins for Dak Prescott. One against a bad Buccaneers team last year, and then he beat the Seahawks. He played well in that game, and I'll give him his flowers. Willing to admit when I'm wrong, willing to continuously give the praise that he does deserve. He's not a top 10 quarterback. He's going to lose to Philadelphia this week. And then all the Dallas Cowboy fans that have been in my mentions for weeks will come back into all the Dallas Cowboy fans that have been in my mention for weeks will be silent, will be crickets. And then 2 or 3 weeks from now, when they beat up on the Washington Commanders or some subpar football team at home, they'll come tell me how great he is. And then they'll play another good team, and then they'll lose. And I don't mean just a good team, a really good team, like the Eagles are. I don't care. The Eagles haven't had a complete game yet. They're 7-1. They're 7-1. They beat the Miami Dolphins, who was everyone's early preseason pick to win the Super Bowl. That was the sexy pick. They beat them up because they came to the Link, and guess what? When it gets cold, when you have to win ugly, the Philadelphia Eagles are the best team for that. They're going to win this division. The Philadelphia Eagles are the better team. They have the better quarterback. And I don't care how well Dak Prescott plays against the Eagles. I care about now. I care about what I've seen recently. And what I've seen from the Dallas Cowboys and Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott is they're not good in high-pressure situations. They often have poor play calling at the end of games. They often have poor clock management. And when it matters the most, Dak Prescott becomes incredibly predictable and will probably throw a game-sealing pick. Or it'll be a San Francisco 49ers thing, and it's a rout. The Philadelphia Eagles are just better. The Dallas Cowboys are not going to win the Super Bowl. They're not a Super Bowl contender. And I don't even care if they win this week. They win this week, good for them. They're not Super Bowl contenders, and they're not going to win. The Philadelphia Eagles are better. They're going to find their identity, and they're going to beat the Dallas Cowboys. And Dallas Cowboy fans will be crickets because that's what they are. Dallas Cowboy fans, again, like Dak Prescott, are some of the best front runners in sports. When it's awesome and it's going well, we'll hear you. We them boys. And they're going to play a real team, or they're going to get to the playoffs, and they'll probably have to go on the road, and they'll lose. Dak Prescott, I've said it for years now, incapable of winning multiple playoff games in the same year. The Philadelphia Eagles will fly, Eagles fly, and the Dallas Cowboys will go back to the drawing board at the end of this week. And it's going to look eerily similar like it did last year for the Philadelphia Eagles. They're going to be good. They might make a run to the Super Bowl. The Dallas Cowboys will not be a part of the NFC Championship game, like I've been saying for weeks, years. And when I'm right, you'll still argue with me because it doesn't matter how many times I'm right. You'll still find some sliver of fandom when I'm on your side. I'm just telling you the truth. I don't hate your team. I don't have enough time in my day to hate your team. But the Eagles are going to win this weekend, and they're going to continuously triumph on into the playoffs, into a Super Bowl caliber roster. They're going to continue to make moves. They're going to continue to stomp their way into the Super Bowl and have other teams come to them, and they're going to win ugly, and they're going to win easy over the bad teams. Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys, on the other hand, they're going to beat up on all the weak teams, and when it's time to step up in the playoffs, or for this instance now, they're going to lose, and it'll be fly, Eagles fly, and it'll be Cowboys fans, let's hide. Because that's how it always is, at least over the past decade and over the past 2 decades plus. And that's just what it is. The Eagles are going to beat the Dallas Cowboys this weekend, and we'll hear crickets from their fan base.